The Flash #8, written by Francis Manapul, art by Brian Buccellato. Brian also did some of the writing as well. And last issue, we ended up with Barry entering into the Speed Force and meeting some guy in there. Just some guy saying, hey, you're going to help me or you're going to die. So, yeah, this issue picks up back in World War II, 1944. We have a man, I don't think he's given a name yet, but Hines is his last name, and he's got this cool experimental plane with some turbines on it that's allowing to go a hell of a lot faster, and he's testing it out, giving it a whirl against the Axis powers or whatever, and then all of a sudden a portal opens up, he goes inside and he disappears. And we see that that's the guy who attacked Barry, and his name is Turbine in here, because of course it is, and he came from World War II and now he's trapped in the Speed Force. So apparently he knows everything about the Flash. He even straight up calls him Barry Allen. He's like, I know all about you, I've seen your life. But Flash like flips him over and it's just like, all right, look, we got to stop. I don't know what you think you're doing, but we got to figure out what's going on here. And then Turbine starts spinning, which I guess is his power, and starts throwing rocks at Barry, to which Barry just zooms in there, knees him in the face, and knocks him out for a bit. And then Barry's like, all right, I just want to talk. I didn't want to fight. I just want to talk. So what's going on here? Have you seen a half of a boat that happens to contain a woman named Iris West? Have you, by chance? And they're like, psh, no one's here but me, and I'm sick of being here. I need to go back home. Came from World War II. And then they just get into the gist of what the Speed Force is and how he knows all about Barry. And we see in the background all these memories constantly moving around. And a lot of them are Barry-centric. And it seems that he's just been here and he's watched Barry's entire life. And he's just able to see all this past, present. It's all just a blur here. So then we get the clarification. This is important. So we get the clarification that Barry... Okay, throughout time, the Speed Force has constantly been just like absorbing random objects from history, and it all comes in here. And usually it's able to just like zoom its way through, and it ends up either like in the future or the past or just some other place entirely. But sometimes it gets stuck in here because there's a bunch of like debris that it can sometimes stick to. Barry, once he started running, acted as a release valve for this Speed Force energy. So once he started running, these random pluckings from history stopped happening. So that's why Barry has to keep on running all the time. I guess. It's a little confusing. Regardless, at some point, Barry's walking around the Speed Force, and he's like, I think the Speed Force wants us to go that way, to the future. And Turbine's like, future? No. We want to go back to the past to get answers. Come on, let's go to the past, far away from that dangerous future thing. So he starts moving his way to the past. Meanwhile, Central City, there's a funeral for cops who have died, one of which is, of course, Barry Allen, because everyone thought he was in the other half of the boat. And Patty's there mourning, along with a couple other members of the group. And they're all saying how Flash is a menace, and all this happened because of him. But at one point, I forget his name, David Singh, I believe it is, he's brought up, and he's like, hey, David, are you going to introduce me to your friends? And it's the like musical maestro or whatever, who I guess they explicitly say was Pied Piper. He was a vigilante, he did things, and now he is reformed. And you can, as soon as he's being introduced to the group, David's like, oh yes, this is my friend. And you should see this glare on his face because it's so obvious they're dating. But regardless, cut back to the Speed Force, and we get all that stuff about how time moves in different ways. And there's an entire Mayan temple in here, a locomotive train, a tank. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff in here. And Turbine tells Barry how he has been trying to escape every time that he sees Barry's, like, light, because I guess he exudes some sort of energy whenever he runs. And as such, he's been trying to spin his way out, and that's what's been causing like the vortexes and things that have been causing Barry so many issues. So he gets real pissed off at Turbine for doing that, and he's like, no, we're not gonna. And Turbine's just like, look, I'll stop. just send me back home to 1944 and I will never do it again. And he's like, no, if you mess with the past, you mess with the entire time stream. You're going to our present. That's final. And he's like, no, you got to send me back home. And he starts whirlwinding Barry around, knocking him around the Speed Force area. And Barry jumps into the whirlwind, grabs him, and is like, look, buddy, screw this. We're going to wherever the Speed Force tells me to go. And they jump into the future area, and Barry loses one of his little wing caps off his ear, to which we see at some point later Iris and the rest of the people on the boat stumble across. So they know Flash was here. Meanwhile, cut to Gorilla City. Grodd, the son of Grodd, is being prepped for battle against his own father for the right to become a man, which I guess is just a thing in Gorilla City, is a battle to the death with your own father. And he starts fighting his dad, and his dad's like, psh, you are pathetic. You will never take my spot on the Gorilla City's throne. And he's like, I'm better than you in every way, father. Allow me to show you. And he headbutts his father, knocks him out. And as everyone's chanting the name of Grodd, and he's like, I am your new king. I am King Grodd. Barry comes tumbling out of the Speed Force right next to them. And that's where we end the trade as a whole, but also just that issue. This book was exposition on crack. It wasn't bad. I liked the different things they were doing, but literally, like, this was all like, here's how the Speed Force kind of sort of functions when you're in it. And it's really dense and it's really hard to get across. Turbine is a whatever sort of character there. It's fine. It's decent, but it's just so like, okay, yeah, no, there's time and stuff. It just felt like, look, we just got to spend one issue to get this all out, and then we don't have to deal with it again. And that was this. As such, this particular issue suffered in terms of just storytelling, but overall it was okay. They kept Turbine as an interesting character throughout, of trying to keep Barry from going to the place he needed to go. He was a good conflict, but it was just so dense beyond that. So overall, I give this one a 6.5. I think it's fine. The art is great. It's fantastic the whole way through, but just the story was just like, there was none. It was no story, really. It was all just a exposition dump that needed to happen, but I wish it need not happen in my time.